Hello, my name is Raul Hernandez, and I chose Animal Farm as my reading book. The reason being, Animal Farm has a well portrayed satirical piece on the communist revolution in Russia, which was interesting to see and how it played out. My favorite part of the book comes towards the end. Like all of Napoleon's speeches, it was short and to the point. He too, he said, was happy that the period of misunderstanding was at an end. For a long time, there had been rumors circulated, he had reason to think, by some malignant enemy, that there was something subversive and even revolutionary in the outlook of himself and his colleagues. They had been credited with attempting to stir up rebellion among the animals on neighboring farms. Nothing could be further from the truth. Their sole wish, now and in the past, was to live at peace and in normal business relations with their neighbors. This farm, which he had the honor to control, he added, was a co-operative enterprise. The title deeds, which were in his own possession, were owned by the pigs jointly. He did not believe, he said, that any of the old suspicions still lingered, but certain changes had been made recently in the routine of the farm which should have the effect of promoting confidence still further. Hitherto, the animals on the farm had a rather foolish custom of addressing one another as comrade. This was to be suppressed. There had also been a very strange custom whose origin was unknown of marching every Sunday morning past a boar skull which was nailed to the post in the garden. This too would be suppressed, and the skull had already been buried. His visitors might have observed too the green flag which flew from the masthead. If so, they would perhaps noted that the white hoof and horn with which it had previously been marked had now been removed. It would be a plain green flag from now on. But as the animals outside gazed at the scene, it seemed to them that some strange thing was happening. What was it that had altered in the faces of the pigs? Clover's old dim eyes fitted from one face to another. Some of them had 5 chins, some had 4, some had 3. But what was it that seemed to be melting and changing? Then, the applause having come to an end, the company took up their cards and continued the game that had been interrupted, and the animals crept silently away. 12 voices were shouting in anger, and they were all alike. No question now what had happened to the faces of the pigs. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was which. Animal Farm plays Animal Farm does a satirical commentary on the communist revolution in Russia. As in the beginning of this book, we see that a pig called Major, who draws direct parallels to Lenin during the Russian Revolution, in which Major tries to educate his fellow animals of a revolution to come, in which all animals would be created equal, in which a society where all no longer have to be ruled upon by some exterior force, in this case would be Jones. However, in a Russian Revolution sense, it would be the Tsar of Russia, which is what Jones is set to portray. So through this, we already see the beginnings of the Russian Revolution. In doing in planting his seeds, Major, as a Lenin type figure, then contributed to the knowledge of two other pigs known as Napoleon and Snowball, both of which respect both of which have direct parallels to Russian figures in the revolution, with Napoleon being Stalin and Snowball being Trotsky. At first, the animals tried to create such a society that Major had wanted. The revolution which Major had talked about had came, and Jones had been thrown out, and now the farm had been ruled by the animals alone. In which now the revolution had been completed, now the animals could indeed be truly equal. However, we start to see that this at first does begin to create an equal society in which the animals now refer to each other as comrades, and instead of working for humans, they now begin to work for themselves. However, soon enough, they create seven commandments which could not be altered and are modeled after Major's thoughts and also their sort of ideology of animalism. However, soon enough, Napoleon ousts Snowball and calls him as a traitor. And in using his iron fist, he gets rid of Snowball and gets rid of all ideas from Snowball. The disparities had arisen from a windmill, which both of them had differing ideas. Along with Snowball and Napoleon comes another pig known as Squealer, who in itself represents propaganda in the Russian Revolution. Thus, this sets up for a sort of totalitarian regime in which they had tried to get rid of a corrupt government, but in themselves had just created a corrupt government in which the animals were forced to deal with Squealer's propaganda and Napoleon's iron fist. Towards the end of the book, as was read, we start to see that the pigs themselves had now been the authoritarian figure, and Napoleon himself had been like Stalin and created a totalitarian regime in which he now suppressed the other animals. In getting rid of one corrupt government, they had only created another corrupt government, which in itself is a satire of what happened in the actual Russian Revolution.